of a hunter. And we said, look at him, see if you can get the right, because it's very good. And then we translated a dozen of his books. So we are always, well, people always say they read Macbeth, and then they started to write.
But it was not true.
No.
They say that about me, that I copy Shane, and I only read Shane for the first time last year. We're going to have time for questions at the end, and also books for sale in the book room, and Maj will sign them if you wish. So if anybody has any questions, just put up your hand at any point, and we'll try and fit him in, but otherwise we'll just keep on talking.
Yeah.
So did the first one sell well? I mean, did it actually, or let me say, did it begin to do what you hoped it would do? As well as an entertainment, were you aware that it was communicating a message?
Well, yeah, I think in a way it was not that fantastic, but we got good interviews, reviews, and I think after the second, third book, young people started to react, because it was not very fine to read crime novels, you know, and certainly if you went to the university and you wanted to read Macbeth, you had to put him into a company not to show that you were reading this entertainment kind of literature. It took some time, some years, before even Ross MacDonald and people like that got knowledge as real literature.
And I think every society goes through that stage.
Yeah.
There's a sort of hierarchy of who's acceptable and who isn't.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
I'm just waiting to become acceptable myself.
Yeah, you see. But so people who read our books were mostly not the people who wanted to read them, but the already left-wing.
Yeah, the people that didn't need convincing. But having said that, the police force as an organ of the state is represented by a cast of characters who are not only extremely likable, but they're extremely diligent, and you would say their heart is in the right place. Was that not a bit of a contradiction? How is it possible to criticize the organ of the state while portraying them through such thoroughly nice people?
Well, and not thoroughly nice.
Oh, I think Martin Beck is lovely.
Yeah, I think he's a typical civil servant. Civil servant, excuse my language. It's rather boring. And he's very beautiful, but he has a very good thing, he has empathy.
Yeah, this is what I mean, he's dutiful, he doesn't clock off at 5 o'clock.
And I think he handles his position very well between the guys under him and the guys over him, which is a hard position in this kind of work. And Gunnar Larsson was the guy who we invented because we thought we needed a real, complicated kind of character. But I think at that time, in the 60s, the high officers in police were rather good educated, but the lower policemen were, many of them were soldiers who never became officers, so they went over to the police force. And they were not that nice.
No, you show that there is a certain amount of ignorance and brutality.
And not that intelligent either.
No. Well, that was the same elsewhere, I think, especially with larger armies that were demobilized. They either became school teachers or policemen.
Yes.
I had school teachers who were out of the army, and they were worse than policemen.
Yeah. Yes. But Martin Beck is a policeman because he didn't want to go to war.
Mm-hmm. And you said the word boring about Martin Beck, which is a little harsh on him, I think, but he is, we've never seen, I mean, Meg Ray possibly, but we've never really seen anybody like that. Did you feel that was a huge risk to have a character his thing was that he was boring? Did you see that as a gamble?
Yes, of course, we did. But we thought we didn't know any policemen. But we knew about some officers in the Stockholm police force. And we tried to think how they were as human beings. And we thought they are like this. And they are married to their work. So they have complicated marriages.
Yes.
And maybe also as fathers, it could be difficult. And it is a very masculine world. At that time, there were no women in the police force.
No, that comes
so
across.
The camaraderie was very strong.
Yeah.
And they didn't have social contact with other people than policemen. So they were kind of, they were like Martin Beck, we thought.
Yeah, and Beck had a complex relationship with Inga, his wife, who it was really a dead marriage, really, from the first book, was it not?
Yeah. Yes, it was because of his dedication to his job.
And she was not happy about that, but couldn't do much about it.
No, she just went there. She didn't have a word. That's the situation was like that in many marriages at that time.
And the children, one was easy, one was not so easy. And these are themes that we see repeatedly now.
Yeah.
Does it not piss you off a little bit that that basically people are still doing what you were doing all those years ago?
Well, it doesn't piss me off, but I think they could find out some other ways to write about society and crime. Because at that time we were also criticized because it was not allowed for a policeman in a crime novel to have a private life. So you shouldn't write about his wife and everyday things and so on. But now, I think, at least in Sweden, most writers of crime are, half the book is about love stories, children, marriage, everyday life, and yeah.
I agree. It's mushroomed to a point where it's almost a requirement. The tension with the wife, the daughter hates him, all this kind of stuff. Everybody does it, and you started it. And I feel like that is...
We didn't mean to do
Well, I mean, it's a bit like in America, James Lee Burke started this thing where the investigator is a miserable drunk. And that was fantastic the first time out.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the more it gets copied, the more boring it becomes. But I think, I read, for instance, even certainly Martin Cruz Smith writes about Moscow and Russia. He lives in California, but writes about Moscow and Russia, and has a detective called Arkady Renko, who could be Martin Beck. I mean, absolutely is Martin Beck. Even Ian Rankin and John Rebus, I think, is heavily influenced. So it's not just Scandinavian crime fiction that has grown out of what you did. It's really elsewhere as well. So I think but you did